Good morning, everyone. It is about 10 to 8 in the morning, New York time. For those of you on the other side of the world, I hope you have a good night. With that said, I just want to go over some trade examples using my 3D adaptive software program. Now, if you haven't seen my videos before, the thing I want to say is the indicator I'm showing you, which is on the bottom, I call it market tops and bottoms, and this is one that prints these arrows. This is only a small part of the program. Okay, but the reason I'm showing is it's very visual, okay, and it is a very key part of the program, but I don't want to have all the other stuff on here because it's going to make you confused trying to figure out what the heck is going on. It's just too much. All right, it's just going to seem like kind of a bit of a, a mess without understanding what to do with it. It would kind of be like giving, let's say a 15-year-old kid that's never driven a car the keys to a 1200 horsepower Bugatti Veyron. It wouldn't be a smart idea, right? So with that said, first thing I want to address is I've had some people say, hey, does this indicator repaint? So basically, let me show you what repainting means if you don't know. Let's say that on a particular indicator, the market's climbing up, it might fire off an arrow here saying the market's going to turn here, but then as the market climbs, this disappears and it's only showing here, and then it only shows at the top, type of thing, right? Same thing might be here. As the market's going up, you get an arrow, but the market goes a few bars higher, and then the one down here disappears. So what happens is you think that it magically called every bottom and top. So let me show you an example of how that happened over here. And because this is only a part of the program, I have other indicators, and I have a few rules that you got to follow to make sure that you don't fall for one that might just be firing off prematurely. And what I mean by that is the arrows form when you get a cross of the yellow over the blue, right? So in the case you see this arrow up at the top, that's fired off when the yellow crosses above. But if all of a sudden the market kind of exploded out of here and this thing uncrossed, the arrow could disappear. All right. But if it did do that, I wouldn't be taking the trade because the price action, the other indicators would tell me not to take it. Okay. But basically think about the arrows are, they tell you, let's say you want to go fishing and it's this massive lake, like, 50 kilometers by 50 kilometers wide, right? There could be fish anywhere, but you need to know where your best shot of it is. So if you could, narrow it down to like the best 10% possibilities of finding all the fish, that's where you go, all right? And that's what this indicator does. It puts you in the best possible area, and then you have to, of course, use other things once again. So let me give you an example here. If I pull this up, let me go back here a second. This is the 5-minute euro, same chart we were just looking at, but it's earlier in the day. Initially, when the market came in this area, it fired off an arrow, and when we had kind of a cross here, all right? I apologize, that's big, but I just want to make everything big down up here so you can see it. It disappeared, so right now there's nothing. All right. Now, the reason this line is here, because part of my strategy is that I'm looking for places that I think have even higher probability of bouncing. In other words, if the market's coming down, I'm looking for a bounce up. I want to be fading the market. Fading means that the market's going down, I'm fading the down direction and going up. So just because I have an arrow doesn't mean I just fall for it and go for it. Right now, here's what this thing looked like. Remember, I said the initial arrow was here, but that disappeared. Now we have 3 arrows. What happened later on is that if it's got a cluster and then you refresh it, it'll keep 1. Now this is not a case where the market started making new lows and we got an arrow here. Notice that. That's what some of the indicators that repaint will do. All right. We did have it in these ones stuck over here, right? So let's just say, now let me go to the charts here to current price activity, and you'll see how this all comes together. So this area here was where I said initially there was a buy signal here. Now, say you did take it. Based on my money management strategy, you wouldn't have been stopped out. You would have been okay. You would have, though, had the market go maybe 26 pips against you. They call that heat. All right, something we don't like, but that is a reality of trading sometimes. Now, let's say you did take this one, you know, and you got filled up in this area here. You would have taken about 18 pips of heat. Now you can see that the market eventually did go up, but then this kind of digested into the, you know, close of the end of the week on Friday, right? So I just want you to be aware that sometimes the picture can change a little bit, but that's why I want to use all the precautions I can to weed out any situation where you could have something happen where the arrow is up in here, and it's possible maybe here we might have had it, but you can see because the market just kind of plowed through, the indicator uncoiled. But to show you that doesn't happen all the time, notice here, okay, strong uptrend, this arrow stuck. So it's not like, once again, where some of these indicators you see that, okay, it's magic, where it would have only plotted the one down on the bottom, and you would have only seen this one up on the very top of the chart, okay? So I just want to make that clear for you, because I know that I've had about maybe 5 or 6 people ask. Let's take a look at the CAD Swiss 1 hour. This might be a better time frame for those of you who don't want to be so, you know, hyper about, you know, the amount of time you need to spend. This chart's a mess here. That's witnessed by, look at these crazy bars on that 1 hour basis, right? But yet, even on this mess, you know, it's finding something in that area. Didn't catch anything here. Now, of course, let's mark these. If you went to the next time frame, that's where you're going to start picking up extra time. We'll come back to that in a second. Found this one. I mean, this is kind of a, you know, pre-momentum breakout, not a trend type of trade. Same thing here. Is that really a trend? There's no trend. I mean, it's just a mess. So you can see that multiple messy situations, we're still finding trades. Most people be scratching their head in here, okay? So let's go to the 30-minute, as I said, to see what was what's going on here, if you can pick up anything. So yes, in here you got something. You know, you got something down here, right? Now, I didn't pick one off the bottom, but just for the heck of it, let's go to the 15-minute. So you can see when you start going to faster time frame, I mean, it's logical. You're going to get way, way more trades, but this is nuts, okay? If I see a price activity like this, I'm not going to go, I'm not going to trade it. Now, we didn't get into something even on the 15. I mean, you can see that it didn't get oversold. Caught something off the bottom there. Now, the only other alternative is that if you want to cut out the noise, you could go to a 4-hour or a daily. Now, this is a case I don't know for sure because I would have to be watching real time. Maybe when it got down here, it might print a bar, but that's okay because we're not getting in. We have to have 3 other things line up. Okay, we have to have 3 other indicators line up to get in. So basically what happened is, say you did get an arrow here, you couldn't take it. All right, no harm, no foul, as they say in sport. But say you did finally see another arrow down here and you say, okay, now everything's lined up, you go for it. You know, so some big trades. And once again, this is a situation where, okay, It's not just painting the highest highs or the lowest lows with an arrow. I mean, these are some great counter trend moves. That's like 44 pips. I mean, this is really a killer trade. You don't always get those though, unfortunately. All right, for your gold bugs out there, 4-hour chart. See, here's a situation where it just didn't disappear because we had an arrow, right? But we wouldn't have got in here based on the rules. Generally, most of the time, I'm going to be entering, like let's say if I'm selling below the arrow bar, you can see up here, right? So we didn't get in this one. This was a monster trade. I mean, that was just a really good one. We had one to the upside. This is massive. This is just like a congestion trade. That's not where trend traders would get in, right? Because it's starting to be a mess here. You don't really know what to do. Okay, much harder when it's starting to go sideways. Because think about it. We can say in hindsight, oh yeah, it's kind of like, you know, this is, you know, basically a high and a low, which is way high. These highs and lows are way higher than these highs and lows down here. But if you think about it, why couldn't this be like a double or triple top that's going to break down? In other words, it's hitting resistance. Let's look at a chart. I've never looked at it in my life. This is a BMW company, 4-hour. Trade off the top. This is a situation. Notice the arrow didn't repaint here. In other words, and just end up at the very bottom. But we wouldn't have got in here because based on our criteria, we wouldn't be able to, we want to buy above the bar, but I'm going to show you a way that when this situation happens where the arrow is staying there, I have another indicator that's going to allow us to get down more in here, okay? Go to a daily. I know a lot of people trade stocks only want to go, you know, they don't want a lot of signals, right? So going all the way back into, you know, the whole year, only 2 signals on this thing. This is like a momentum breakout type of trade. Very, very different than a lot of the other trades we catch. No, this is a momentum breakout trade. This is a totally different trade. This is an extremely counter trend move. Let's look at a time frame. I think maybe I've only talked about once. This is Facebook. I mean, this is a weekly, so we're going all the way back to 2016. Obviously, you're not going to get a lot of signals, right? But just, you know, nuts how this thing can work, right? Here's a situation we had a signal here. You don't get filled because you're not going above the top of the bar. Eventually, it rounds the corner. You got a shot there, right? This signal of, you know, what happened, this market opened up and it went higher, and then when it kind of flipped around during that week, that's when you could go short on this one. Now you can kind of read the numbers off the side of the chart. That's a big move. See, this is a situation I want to show you where it didn't repaint. Okay, you would have got an entry down in here, and it, if you're going off the weekly levels, I mean, the thing went, I don't know, like, it just went a few dollars down before it reversed, so that one's not going to work out. Here's one. We don't go short just there. We've got to wait for it to, you know, another indicator around the corner, as I like to say. So that's the weekly. For you day traders who like to trade the indexes, or this is the FTSE 100, or let's say you want to buy stocks in a British stock exchange, well, it helps to know what the index is doing for the day. All right, so this is a 5-minute chart, very fast. Didn't have anything, and all this kind of, slop over here. This situation here, it's like you're wondering what the heck's going on. All right, so we had 2 shorts. We had a long here, and once again, about like an arrow printing, usually what's going to happen is you wouldn't see it just because the market's going lower. You wouldn't see maybe a temporary arrow print. It has to be where maybe there's going to be like a bar that kind of, you might have a little intermediate bar. Maybe it's inside bar, maybe it's just something that kind of, smaller bar that kind of closes just a bit up. That could make a temporary arrow, all right? But once again, even if the arrow formed here, it's not like, okay, you're getting it here and oh my God, the thing just falls through your level, all right? Just want to be very clear on that. Let's take a quick look at silver, 30-minute chart. The metals have really been kind of a lot of interest in them, so this is like some ugly price action. There must have been some kind of news that made this happen. All right, so we had this strong impulse up. We had a counter trend move down. We had a situation where you would have gone long here, but you're going to take some heat on this one. Your stop would have been down below this level. Okay, but you would have been sweating on this one, I'll be honest, okay? But this is a situation here. That's just a mess. So a big part of what this software is going to do for you in this whole program is it's going to give you like a whole new palette of trades that you can choose from. In other words, let's say you're a swing trader and maybe you can find 3, 4, 5 what you think are pretty good trades in a week. What happens if all of a sudden, instead of getting 3, 4, 5, you get 10, 15, 20 possibilities that are much higher quality? I mean, that can make a huge difference. Even if you get 3, 4 new swing trades a week that are really high probability, that really kind of shifts the odd in your favor. So keep that in mind. Just go back a little bit more. Once again, this is not a nice looking chart. All right. This is a situation where you would have got in here. Okay, it did go your way, but it came all the way back. So you want to use, like, I'm going to teach you how to kind of try to reduce your, your losses, or like kind of lock in like pips like really quickly. Eventually, in hindsight, it did go down, but this is one that went back. And if it does shoot down, you shouldn't be like giving anything back. In other words, it shouldn't turn into a loser. So that was the 30 for most current days. Let's take a quick look at a 30-minute crude oil chart. I think some of you like to trade this market. It's really can be a very lucrative market, but it's also a really crazy one. This is a lot of messy bars here, but I'll just let you look for yourself at the entries. I mean, would you think of getting in here based on your strategies? These, this is messy here. You would have, if you got down here, you would have come close to getting stopped out. This is one here, and something just, it's a little kind of common sense. If you get a signal but the bars are way, way bigger, in other words, say they're 3, 4, 5 times bigger than the average bar, I don't want to enter on it, because what happens is, say you entered above the high of this this bar here, you've already got this big, big distance, from there to down here where your stop would be. So that's why when you see something like this, noticing that the bars are very small, your stop is going to be smaller, all right? Same thing here, you get your signal, the bars are much smaller. This is another one. If you got in here, you would have been sweating it, okay, but you wouldn't have got stopped out. Here's one here. You've got to wait for it to round the corner. And I have another indicator that it's a very kind of, I think, a leading indicator which way the short-term momentum's going. It's going to help me to decide what are secondary bars. And what I mean by that is I usually want to like sell below the low of this bar here, the arrow bar. But the other indicator I have that I think is leading, so it's going to tell me when the market's starting to break down in momentum this way. So anyway, guys and girls, this video's just gone about 21 minutes, so I'm going to leave you with that. I hope you have a fun, relaxing, and safe weekend, and we'll be back to you shortly.